Welcome, welcome. Oh, I see you guys are already on there waiting on me. Thank you for waiting. Welcome, everybody, to Teacher Talks. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes, and I'm so excited that you guys have decided to join me tonight for this great conversation. The topic for tonight's Teacher Talk is leading while seeking higher education. We have a panel of guests tonight. As usual, we're here to laugh, to learn, and to love. It's a lighthearted conversation about education. If you believe in it, hey, join in. If you're on Facebook, like, comment, get in here, share, have a watch party. If you're on YouTube, same thing, like, comment, subscribe. Stop what you're doing right now. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We need you in the comment section. For those on Periscope, same thing. So glad that you decided to join me. You too have an opportunity to join in the conversation by getting in the comments. Remember, you drive what we talk about, you drive the discussion. It is your show. We are here for you. I'm so excited for my panelists. They have decided to join me tonight. I have four exceptional panelists, two singles and one couple. Can't wait to hear about that. And it is 9 o'clock. No matter where you are on the East Coast, it's 9 o'clock. It's actually 9:12. What does that mean? It means you need to put your children down and put your cups up because it's time to have a good time. Now, tonight, what am I drinking? I am drinking 7 o'clock a.m. Joe. Why? Because your boy is exhausted. It's been a long 2 days. You're looking at a man with a total of about 6 hours of sleep over the last 48 hours. But I'm here for you still, right? If you're looking at me tonight, you say, well, he is looking very miraculous tonight, very sharply well dressed. Why? These are still my work clothes. I have not changed clothes. So what you see right now is what I wore today. So thank you to Appling Middle School. I had a wonderful day with you today. Very exciting. Learned a lot today. I saw some great things happening in the building. Shout out to the principal of that school, Dr. Chandrina Griffin Stewart, a wonderful leader. I'm always privileged to work with her every time I go down to the lovely city in the Middle Georgia area. So without any further ado, because I have things I need to do when I end this live show tonight. For those of you that are going to watch this after it goes live, thank you so much. Remember, you too have an opportunity to get in the comment section. I will be watching, I will be reading, and I will be commenting. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is Teacher Talks, and we are going to get started. First, I want to introduce Mr. Jim Triplett. I'm not doing introductions tonight. These are adults. They can introduce themselves, so I'm going to let them do so. Welcome the first guest of this evening, Mr. Jim Triplett. Sir, how are you doing this evening? Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited to have you and to have you share with these wonderful people. If you don't mind, Mr. Triplett, if you don't mind, give the people a little bit about yourself, but not too much because you may find a stalker out there, sir.
Good evening, Dr. Holmes, and thank you for having me here on Teacher Talks. And good evening to everyone else who's watching. As you already mentioned, my name is Jim Triplett. I'm located here in St. Louis, Missouri. I know most of you all might be on the East Coast. I'm in what some will call the Midwest. I'm here in St. Louis, Missouri. Currently, I am the school principal at Frabo Literacy Academy. It is a preschool through fifth grade elementary school in the St. Louis Public School District. In addition to being a principal at Frabo during the day, I am also a doctoral student. This is my last semester of my second year of coursework. I'm pursuing a Doctor of Education degree in Education Leadership and Policy Analysis from the University of Missouri, Columbia. And so I'm excited about finishing this semester up and moving towards my dissertation. I'm similar to what Chris already said. I am still in my work clothes, and so I'm at home, comfortable, but have not been able to get comfortable enough to take these work clothes off. So once again, thank you for having me, Dr. Holmes.
Well, sir, you still look great, whether you're in your work clothes or not. Thank you for coming looking sharp like a Sunday knife. I mean, boy, you like a Sunday dinner in the back of the kitchen, like some more of the pork chops about to come on a covered plate. I'm just saying. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait for you to share with these people. Next, you know who it is. She's been here before. This is not her first go around with me, but I brought her back again because she's a smart lady. and she has some things to share. And she has been in transition since the last time you heard from her. So I want to bring her back so she can share a little bit about what she's going through right now in her life. Without further ado, please help me welcome Miss Shiona Drummer. Good evening. I call her Dr. Drummer. Good evening, Dr. Drummer. How are you doing?
I'm great, Dr. Holmes. How are you?
I'm doing well. Tell these people a little bit about yourself again.
Again, okay. Well, my name is Shiona Drummer, and I am currently in the middle of my second semester in my doctoral program at Columbus State University. That's going very well. But as Dr. Holmes said, when we get off of here, I have some things to do too, and it's called an 8-page paper. That's one. But also, I currently serve as an instructional technology specialist at a K-8 school here in Middle Georgia. And that is going very well. I am also hoping to begin some new things as far as opening a business during this pandemic. I think I waited way too long to start it, but that is a goal and aspiration of mine. And hopefully there are some business owners out there that can give me some tips. So I'm Shiona, and I'm looking forward to talking with you all this evening.
Well, again, thank you for joining us, Dr. Drummer, as I like to say. It's always a pleasure to have you on, and I once again can't wait for you to share your journey with the viewers and those that are listening. Now, everybody buckle up. I brought you some people, okay? I didn't bring you just one. I brought you a double whammy, a double Dutch, a double scoop of the Scots. Now, you've seen one scoop. You've seen the strawberry of the Scots, but I brought the chocolate too. I brought the chocolate. I brought you the chocolate. So I brought you none other than Michael and Elisha Scott. So
Hey.
what we have here, people, we have a couple.
Double whammy.
The double, no whammy. Stop, double whammy. Double whammy. So I'm gonna let them tell you what they're doing, y'all, because I know you all will have some questions for these two. So without further ado, give it to the people.
All right. Good evening. I'm Elisha Scott. This is my husband.
Hello.
And I am currently in a leadership role at a local career academy. I am also pursuing my master's in organizational leadership development and change. And I'll let Mike take it from here.
Hello, everybody. I'm Michael Scott, and I am currently transitioning between two leadership positions. In one role, I serve as a band director and fine arts magnet coordinator for Central High School in Central Georgia, Macon. And I've just recently been promoted to an assistant principalship. I serve as assistant principal at Rutland High School in Macon, Georgia as well. So I'm transitioning between those two. I am also in school pursuing my educational doctorate in leadership at Columbus State University. So yeah, I'm right along with Ms. Drummer in my second semester as well.
More money, more money, more money, more. Did y'all hear that? That man said he got a promotion. I see checks in your future.
In my bank account. Let me see him in my bank account.
I also see more bills too. That's what happens when you make more money. You accumulate, somehow you make more bills, but that's not our topic tonight. That's a finance series. We have to have another person on for that. So we're not gonna get into that. But congratulations on the promotion. I can't wait to see what you do in this upcoming school year. It is going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to see how you change the lives of the adults and the children in that building, because you, my friend, are a leader. And I've told you that. And so I'm excited for you. I thank God for you. And man, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to hear the great stories. So let me bring all of these wonderful people back in, because we've got work to do. We've got work. Look at them. Look at them. Hey, everybody. What's up?
Hey, we're back. Congratulations, Mr. Scott. Congratulations on that promotion.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we've got people watching. People are saying good evening. Good evening. Thank you for being on here. For everybody that's watching, thank you, thank you, thank you. They're laughing. I don't know if they're laughing at me or laughing at something I did stupidly, but either way, thank you for the laughter. Yeah, this is free. Okay, I'm not even paying you for these jokes. So whatever. If you don't laugh, I don't care. So now, once again, if you are on Facebook, you have an opportunity to start a watch party. You can get in the comment section. That's what I want you to do. We're going to share. As I share, you can comment or you can ask a question. I will constantly be in the section looking for what you have to say. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, but most importantly, stop what you're doing. Put your cup down. Hit that subscribe button. Okay, that's what I need you to do. Hit that button, and then after you do that, hit that bell as a notification that every time I come on, you're going to be watching me. Now on Periscope, I need you to make sure that you're watching and that you're commenting. Now let me give a disclosure, because those of you on Periscope, you normally go by aliases, and you say some things sometimes that's not appropriate for teacher talks. Okay, I know who you are. You come here, sometimes you tell lies and you ask some inappropriate stuff. Okay, so let's not do that tonight. This is a room full of professionals. We got to be on our best behavior. Okay, so we're going to start with the first question that I have, and anybody can take it. What was your motivation for seeking higher education? Oh, don't jump at the question. Who wants to go?
I'll start. My motivation for seeking higher education, specifically this doctoral degree, it's a long story, but I'll give you the short version. Back in '96, when I graduated from high school, I went to Mizzou, or the University of Missouri Columbia, on an academic scholarship. I dropped out of college. Like 3 years later, I dropped out of college, essentially. And so now, after graduating from Harvard with my second master's degree, I was like, I want a doctorate degree. Where do I want to get it from? And so me returning to get the doctorate degree from this school specifically is almost like a dream deferred. Kind of want to finish a degree that I started years ago at the institution that I, back then thought I wasn't good enough to do it at. And so to be at this point, it was kind of like, I want to go back to prove to myself that I can finish something I started. So that's my reason.
Wow. Okay. Now listen, we're not preaching tonight, so don't start me. Don't start me. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. But thank you for sharing that. But that preaches by itself. Oh, hold that cup up. Represent. He got his teacher talks mug because he won at a trivia night. He was one of the winners. Sent it, and it came, and it wasn't even broken. Amen to that.
I was about to say, look like it hold it liquid, nice.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and jump into the question.
Yes, sir.
I decided to pursue my higher education, or this doctorate program, the doctorate degree, just simply for impact. Like that's really my motivation to pursue leadership roles. I wanted to impact my particular field, which is education, just at the highest level that I could. And what I began to do was look at individuals in my direct proximity in my school district, some individuals who I began to follow via social media and other platforms. And these individuals were educated, on the doctoral level. They had an understanding of the macro particulars of our field, and they could break it down to the micro, and they specified their work in a very concentrated area, typically the area that they decide to do extended studies in. If it wasn't dissertation, it might have been postdoctoral studies. But I just realized that in order to make the biggest impact on my field, I needed to learn as much as I could and just become as educated as I could in the area.
Alicia, come on. You gotta go. You got to come after that. We can't go to somebody else.
No, I agree with what he was saying. My motivation was pretty similar. When I was listening, I'm like, oh my gosh, like we have a similar motivation. I went to UGA and I majored in mathematics education. And when I was there, my professors were like top researchers. So I was on the cutting edge. So a lot of stuff that I was learning was stuff that hadn't necessarily come down the line yet. And so through that experience, I developed a love for research as well. And just like, I've always loved learning, but they taught me my identity as a learner by being in those tough situations. And so for 5 years, I wanted to get a master's, but I didn't know what I wanted to get it in. So I kind of waited. And then over time, it was a little bit clearer to me where I wanted to focus my learning. And so I'm simply getting mine just to learn. I love being aware of what's coming, and I love innovation and creativity, and I love being challenged. And so a lot of mine was about me making sure that I was filling my cup, because I feel like the best teachers are the best learners, and teachers truly are students of their students. And so, and students of the work. And so I feel like, I never wanted to be a kind of person in education where, my education was old. I wanted to be aware of what I wanted to be current, so that I could be providing my students with the best experience possible, so that they can be on the cutting edge. So that's why I did my degree. And so it's a little bit different from just the ed leadership or, curriculum track, which is where I eventually may go. But I wanted to learn more about just organizational leadership as a whole, so I could take it and place it wherever I wanted to.
Okay. I'm seeing kind of a theme running here, and we'll pull that out as Shiona shares with us. So, Dr. Drummer, tell us about why you decided to go into get a higher level degree.
Well, my story is kind of a combination of the three other panelists, because I earned my specialist a decade ago, and I didn't think that the doctoral level program was for me. I didn't think that it was something that I would necessarily be able to get admitted to, let alone complete. And let me hush because I hadn't completed it yet. But with that being said, I kind of waited as God would have it. Decided during the pandemic, go ahead and better yourself, honey. Why not? And hey, Columbus State messed around and gave me the yes vote, and so y'all done messed up now. But I'm in, and so what Dr. Scott, let me specify what Dr. Michael Scott said, resonated with me too. When I was working with a larger school district in Macon, Georgia, going from school to school, I realized there were so many people who had earned their doctorate, or the doctorate, especially people in leadership. And I decided, if they have theirs, then I need to go ahead and get mine. I earned my specialist in curriculum and instruction. That's why I decided to continue in that same vein. But like Dr. Michael Scott said, I want to impact change. So I'm focusing more so at this point anyway in the program. Again, it's only halfway through my second semester, but at this point, I'm focusing on culturally relevant pedagogy, because I want to make sure that the education our students are receiving is impactful, is meaningful, and can be something that translates into their education careers. And so, just thinking about what Dr. Alicia Scott said was something that spoke to me, as far as she definitely she's not doing something, the curriculum and instruction track. I initially wanted to do but I think my degree will be best served in the curriculum and instruction track. So I'm going to see how I can affect change that way.
Okay, so there are two things that I hear running through this. There is this altruistic desire for these degrees that I hear, and there's also this desire to continue to serve, right? Because I didn't hear anybody say I'm doing this for myself because I just want a doctorate. There's a particular reason why each one of you are doing it, and in essence, what you're doing is taking up particular space that may not inhabit people that look like you or that can do or possess the qualities that you have. And so if you never thought about that way, I know each of you, so let me tell you that you are taking up defined space right where you need to be. There is nobody on this globe, not even on another planet, that can do and possess the skills and capacity that you possess to change the specific lives that you are designed to change. So, one, thank you for your obedience to continue to serve and take the step and sacrifice that I know all of you are taking to get this degree because it's not easy. It is not easy, and we're going to get into how it's so difficult on so many levels. It's not cognitive. This is a challenge to get a higher degree. It's a choice, and everybody's not willing to make the choice. So I wanna ask either Dr. Scott or Dr. Triplett to answer this question. As a black man,
Hmm.
why is it so important for you to get this degree? Anybody can take that question. Either one of you two.
Oh, you're getting heavy, Doc.
Right.
I'll jump in. I'll try to be concise. As I stated earlier, I was just recently promoted to an assistant principalship, and one thing that has been revealed to me through this process, it all kind of happened kind of fast. There are a lot of people, mostly black males that look like me, who are watching me, and not in a negative way. They're actually looking at and are motivated by me and people like me, right? So in a lot of ways, especially from my immediate home and household in my neighborhood where I grew up, I've become the rubric. I've become, the measuring tool for what's possible, right? And it sounds like a lot to put on yourself, but I don't feel like I'm putting it necessarily on myself. I just realized, as I once was, at a point where I was looking at people who I may have been, connected to or secondary connected to or whatever, who were doing things that I was inspired by. Now people are looking at me. So I realized that in a lot of ways, through the difficulties of what I'm trying to achieve, I just keep in mind and in retrospect that, there are people who are motivated by what I'm able to get done and achieve, and I'm honored to serve in that capacity, but I feel like it's important to keep driving forward to go as far as I can go so others can see that and go further.
I'm gonna let you jump in, Triplett, because I know at one point you taught all boys.
Yeah. And so with that, what Dr. Holmes was saying, so when I first started teaching, I only taught boys. I had a classroom of a single gender classroom of black and brown boys. And I taught them for 3 years. I looped with them from 3rd to 4th to 5th grade. It was an amazing experience. And it helped me to realize that what I was doing was the right thing. I spent 16 years working in retail before I became an educator. And so when I became a teacher and I had those boys in my presence, it was like God reminded me that this is where you need to be. This is where you want to be. And so to answer your question, the reason why I think it's important for me as a black male to be in education is because representation matters. And so I can think back to when I was in elementary school, because elementary school, is my realm. I've never taught in middle school or high school. I can count maybe one black male teacher that I had when I was in elementary school. And so now in the role as a principal, my students, male or female, now have a positive male role model who they know they can look up to, they can count on. So despite what's going on in the world or what's going on in the homes, they know that this Black man, Mr. Triplett, cares for them. I'm here for them. And so that's my why.
And, this is what I think of, because right now we are, as Black men, in the vein of Black History Month, we are reclaiming our identity. We are setting a new standard for Black men, especially in education. And I would like to think that we are no longer creating the box. We're just cutting the wood. You can shape the box however you want to. We're just woodcutters. Because my box isn't your box. Everybody has their own box, but everybody's box is made of wood. And so I really believe that what we're doing is going to make a difference. I've seen it make a difference for so many young people. And I think the one thing we don't think about is how we impact adults as well. And I know everybody can say they encounter adults on their everyday journey that don't get it. And so we're trying to coach them to be the best versions of themselves when initially we never thought it was really going to be our job. We thought we were teaching children how to be successful academically and how to think and how to have strength of character and all those good things. But our jobs encompass so much as leaders. But what about those people that you may have encountered, like I have, who, how do I say this nicely? There were some people that I met who had doctorates that I said, well, if they got a doctorate, then I don't need one. Have you met people that don't represent the degree well? Because we hear the name, but we don't know where it came from. We don't know if it's reputable. We don't know the depth or the level of professionalism or experience that comes with the name. And so do you think there are people out there that have the name of doctorate that maybe tarnish it and doesn't give it the level of respect that it deserves?
I would I would say that I kind of thought quite the opposite. When I saw some people that have obtained their doctorate degree, I was like, if they can do it, I can definitely do it. So it's kind of the opposite for me. It was more so motivating, like, you know what, I had that self-doubt that Shiona, I think her name was, is it pronounced Shiona? She mentioned something similar to that. Impostor syndrome is a real thing.
Yeah.
So for me, when I saw other people who had it, when I wasn't doubting myself, it was kind of like, yeah, if they can do it, I can do it too. So.
All right. Anybody else? Because we all know that online is a real thing at one point. What were you saying, Drummer?
I agree with Dr. Triplett. I think that I had some coworkers, if I can be just totally, I know it's just us talking. So if I can be totally honest, I had some coworkers or people that I reported to, and I said, oh, wow, well, if this is, if you have a doctorate and you function at this level, then I should at least try.
Right.
So that's how I felt about it. And yeah.
So how do you balance? Because I know everybody's working right now. Now, when I was in my program, I started off working the first year, but I ended up leaving my job, and I was already a full-time student, but I was a full-time unemployed student, and so I didn't have a level of income, but I was receiving an academic stipend. I was also a fellow, so that's why I left my job, because I still had income coming in, just not through a 9 to 5, so to speak. And we know in education it's really not 9 to 5; it's 9 to 7, 8 to 6, 9 to 9. Sometimes, as a band director, you know how that goes. I was a coach, so I know that's like 7 to 11, 7 to 12. It's a long day. So how are you balancing leading in your position as well as learning at the same time?
By the grace of God.
Amen.
And that's real, by the grace of God, with the support of family members who share my vision, who understand that when I make it, we make it. I look at my son as motivation, because just to be quite honest with you, some of those nights that I've been up, especially first semester, and you can attest to this, Dr. Holmes, because I shared it with you. But he would be up with me at 11:58, 11:59 when I'm submitting these papers after working all day. Or working all week. So my son is my motivation, and that's how I help. That helps keep me grounded and centered. And when I feel like, this is a bit overwhelming, I just think about, okay, well, I'm doing it now so that I can provide better for him in the future, so that I can be a better example to him in the future. So that's the balance piece for me. You
Okay.
have to make the balance. The balance is not just gonna I have not come across a situation where I'm gonna go ahead and take one of those responsibility off the plate. I've actually kind of seen the opposite happen. People say, "Oh, well, you could do that. You can handle it. Oh, let me give you something else then." So, yeah, you have to create your own balance, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. Somebody else wants to take it.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I'm a little different in this area. I've always been the type, and as I listen to my brother now, brother Triplett speak, kind of reminds me of my days back in elementary school. I was the kid, I had to be challenged. And so these are the types of challenges that I actually, it really, really puts a battery in my back. Like finding a possible solution for the impossible. And my approach to it has always been searching for the opportunities, right? The small crevices of light amidst a room of darkness, right? Like what is that opportunity that I can just slide in, just read in this article real quick, or how can I incorporate some of the frameworks that I'm studying into this lecture on John Coltrane? I don't know. I mean, it's just I really try to be creative, and it's probably a little bit of my fine arts brain as well. I try to be creative in how I approach balancing, the actual act of balancing. Now, this also is a double-edged sword because my wife gets on me. Because of that, I don't like sticking to a rigid schedule. So I don't like sitting down and saying, all right, from 10 to 12, I'm going to sit down and write. I don't like that. I like to be flexible and free and kind of find those opportunities as they come, which down the road, I'm not sure if that'll be a help or a hindrance, but we're going to find out. But yeah, I get excited. It's just something that motivates me and inspires me to keep pushing.
All right.
Did you want to add anything, Mrs. Scott, before I jump in?
Hey, this is my show. You don't just take over like that.
Oh, my bad.
No, he did. He just took over my show.
That's what happened when you were power tie. He got the power tie on.
I'm telling you.
Mrs. Scott, would you like to add anything to that?
I will also say that, it's by the grace of God, like, Shiona said. And I think what really helps me is just remembering why I'm here in the first place. Like, my mom had me when she was young. So I actually used to go to school with my mom when she was the first one in our family to go to college. So I would be in the back at Mercer just coloring and, stuff like that. And by me watching my mom change the trajectory of our family, it really pushes me to want to continue that race forward. And so even though it is very hard to balance everything and, because I do so much outside of school as well as in school, I think I kind of just hold on to why I'm doing it. And I'm not necessarily a person, I've learned this, because I think Dr. Triplett said and Dr. Drummer, I've had that imposter syndrome as well, because I have had to, drop out of school before, do a hardship withdrawal, but also, I debate on whether I should go back. And I'm also, passionate about culturally relevant pedagogy, but I know like what they said, representation is also important. So it's like, you know, I felt so empowered when I went to UGA and I pushed through, and you know, I represented Black women, you know, in a math education field, and I was able to push past what seemed impossible, and I was only the second person in my family at the time to do it. And so when I look at this situation, I've learned kind of like to pace myself, whereas some people, you know, they can accomplish things in the amount of time that was set out for them. So actually, for one of my classes, I was like, I need to take a mental break. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna take a mental break. I'm gonna hop back in. And I've seen the time where I never wanted to do that because I was afraid that I wouldn't finish, or you know, whatever else. But I realized like I don't only want to be powerful academically or like impact, you know, the world in education, because you know I'm passionate about education. You know this, Mr. Holmes. You were my you know, you were everything when I was in high school. But I want my son to be impacted as well. You get what I'm saying? And so it's like, as he's watching me go through this journey and I'm trying to figure out what balance looks like or whatever else, I want him to also know that as long as you finish, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if you don't do it exactly how it's set out before you, as long as you finish and you give it your best shot, that's all that matters. And also prioritizing your family. Because that was another thing my mom used to always do before she got her next degree. She'd be like, y'all, I'm about to go get my doctorate. Everybody good? And I thought that was so crazy. Why are you asking your kids that? You know, but she knew we were all gonna have to go with her where she was going, like, you know, Dr. Drummer said. And so my whole family, my grandma, everybody's working together to help make sure me and Mike can get our stuff done. But I've just also been trying to make sure that I prioritize the fact that I'll never get these moments back with my son, you know? And while I do want to do all this stuff academically, I still want to be balanced. And I also got to take care of my health, because he don't want no, you know, mama with a doctorate, but she don't have a mind left, you know? So I've just been trying to make sure that that's how I try to create my balance. What do I want to get out of my life? And then stick in this education in its proper place.
Yeah. Jump in, Triplett.
Yes, sir. I would like to say that now 2 years into the doctoral program, I'm still trying to find true balance, if I can be honest. But what I do is when I was a teacher and the other roles I've had in education, I was the type of person that always like to do things myself. But what I have learned as a principal and a doctoral student is that distribution leadership is very important. And so I've taken some of the work off my plate when I'm at school and say, you know, here, instructional coach do this, here, lead teacher do this, secretary do this. So part of my balance is giving some of the work to other people in the building and trusting that they can do the work. The other part of the balance is leaving the work at work. You should bring the work home. When I was a teacher, I no longer bring the work home. When I'm at school, I am Mr. Triplett. When I am home, I am doctoral student Triplett. I don't bring the two worlds don't intertwine. That's the only way I've been able to find balance is when I'm at home. That's when I can find time to do my studies. To what Mr. Scott was saying earlier, I don't really have like a set time. Like, oh, I'm gonna do work from this time to this time. It's like when it happens, it happens. But when I'm here, that's what I'm gonna be doing. Just be a student and not be a leader.
I agree. I tell people all the time, and I ask that question because sometimes people think there is a perfect balance. There is no perfect balance when you're doing what you're doing as a leader and you're learning. What you'll have is this constant shift in priority, almost like, you know, one will be weighted more than the other, but it still will level out at some point. But you know, being a parent, being a teacher, or being a leader, being a student, sometimes being a son, being a friend, being loving yourself and giving yourself that self-care you need, just to drop everything and just take a moment to yourself, just to kind of come back to develop what you would think is some level of sanity, because you think you're about to lose your mind. And then sometimes you're just simply tired. You just want to rest one day. You just want to do anything. You just want to sleep, watch some, as I call it, trash TV, or just listen to music, or in Mr. Scott's vein, or Alicia's vein, play some music sometimes. But just do something that is not work and is not school. It just looks and sounds totally different. Is there anything that you would say so far that has been a significant challenge as you're back in school? that you think somebody needs to be aware of, or you want to just kind of throw out there and share with those that are watching us?
I would say make sure you're doing it for the right reason.
Yeah.
All right. It might sound good to get a doctorate degree because you want to be called a doctor, but if it was easy, everybody would have one. And it's not easy. And so that's the first thing that I would, that's the main thing I would say, is make sure that it's definitely something that you truly committing to completing.
All right. So let me, Mr. Scott, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna actually add a little bit to that. I agree exactly, precisely with what you just said, but also when you're talking about higher level, like higher studies, higher level degrees, it's very important to go into a concentration that you would do on any day, whether you feel like it or not, whether somebody like it was an assignment or not. Like it was something you would look at, research on your own, and you're interested in on your own. It's going to be vital that it's something you feel strongly about, you're passionate about, you're deeply interested in because of the amount of time. I kind of explain it like this. You know, when you're talking about your undergraduate degrees, it's about the width of study, but higher level degrees is about the depth of study. So you're in one spot and you're going as deep as you can go. Excuse me, as deep as you can go in that concentrated area. So you gotta love it. You have to.
Yeah.
And I want him to say something else, because you remember when you were telling me about the importance of like reading stuff like academically, like APA style stuff or whatever, so you can get
For sure. And also when you talk about higher level academia, it's literally a language, right? And so what can be a challenge, right, if you haven't yet pursued a higher level degree, as you get deeper into your degrees, you need to really be able to understand the scientific language of academia on that level, right? And it kind of just helps to read literature in that field, right? And if so, we're educators, so I'll just make it plain. You're educated, something that you can do to kind of prepare yourself to be able to really interpret and analyze and understand academic work in the field of education. Just read educational articles, journals, right? If you're a math teacher, read what's going on in the latest math trends. If you're an ELA teacher, same thing. Fine arts, whatever your concentration is, there are popular journals and articles that come out all the time, and they're not as research heavy or analysis, data, all that stuff heavy, but it still gets your mind used to that rhetoric, that language. So I think that's something that I definitely didn't anticipate, the shift of being able to being expected to read a lot and read a lot in the scientific language and framework of higher level academia.
And one thing I was going to say that I actually, because he was talking about the schedule earlier, I actually like drew out, because I'm also creative, but just in a different way, my schedule. And I had no time. Like it was like, when I looked at how much time I had and how much time I wanted to give to my studies and stuff, I'm like, well, where's the time? How's it going to fit? And so, I really just had to look at my schedule for what it is and figure out where I want to place my energy, And so, like he said, I don't always feel like doing stuff at a particular time, but I know that I have to give a certain amount of time to whatever it is so that I don't wait until the last minute and try to like do everything. So I think that was important for me to sit down with my real schedule, not the one that I've made up in my head that I think I can do, but how it's really working out, and try to figure out how I can be realistic and meet those expectations, especially with the child. And we do a lot of teamwork. Like if I have an assignment, he'll take Michael, or if he has an assignment, I try to take Michael. It doesn't always work that way because sometimes I fall asleep and sometimes it just doesn't work out like that.
Listen, you didn't even have to say anything. You told on yourself.
Right.
I know better than to say anything. I'm not saying nothing.
He falls asleep too, but we work it out.
Well, let me ask this question, and this is just something that I'm thinking of that I didn't prep you guys for, but it is Black History Month, and as leaders in the field, why is it so important that you advocate for Black and Brown students? We know in schools, there still exists racism. There still exists bias, not only in instruction but also in assessments. We know that many of our students in certain locations are targeted and treated unfairly as it relates to discipline, in terms of identification, in special groups like special education, especially our Black males. Why is it so important that you, as a leader, advocate for Black and brown students?
Okay, I didn't want to jump. I didn't want to take nobody to shine. You know, but I'm gonna jump. Listen, this kind of goes back to what you were saying about what you asked about. Why was our motivation to pursue, you know, the high level degrees and such? I really firmly believe everything you just said, as far as there being a lot of things that are still not right. Those for us that are the ones who are experiencing those injustices and inequalities, that's a real thing. But for people who that's not their experience, it's not as real to them. And so what we're able to do with our higher level education is learn how to communicate and prove, right, or exhibit or show those those statements you just made as fact, right, to people who are actually in positions to make policy or change policy or influence curriculum and make assessments, right? It's important for us to be able to get in the conversation and effectively communicate in those conversations why certain things need to change and why certain things need to take place.
Yeah, I also think it's important for us to set an example for even our students, because our students are watching how we navigate these spaces. So, like, I think it's also important for us to make sure that we are communicating with our students how we are advocating for them. Because I think what I've realized is sometimes there's a gap. Like, there are people back there fighting for you, and you never know what they did for you to get there. So one thing that I've tried to make sure I've done for my students is connect them with the sacrifice and leave them with the charge for them to continue that work, you know? Because when I look at what I'm doing in education, I look at it like a continuation of the sacrifices that have already been made. It's a race, and we're trying to move this race forward. And so when I look at it, you know, of course it makes me angry sometimes, you know, to hear things that people say or to see how stereotypes play out in the classroom and how sometimes students can own those stereotypes because it's been, you know, made into their reality. But I think it's just so important for us to literally just be a living, breathing example of the fact that you don't have to be the stereotype. And then not only doing that, but, you know, being that example for the people who you work with as well as for your students, and like he said, the communication to not only your colleagues, but also to the students, so that they understand, like, I'm expecting you to continue this work because our people deserve it. And I just think about it, for me, it's a family affair. I'm doing this to help better my family, for my son, you know, for his children, for my great grandchildren. But because we all have a role in this. So just letting them know that, you know, here's my role and you have a role too. And showing them how to do it in a professional way, and showing them that how education and that can kind of work together. Like, the fight can be professional as well.
So, Mr. Triplett, how do you stay in the fight when others that may not look like you don't believe or have value in your students? How do you help them understand that it's worth the fight?
I don't want to quote any rappers incorrectly, but I'm from St. Louis, and so my thing is, we all we got, right? That sounds kind of cliche, but if we want to talk about putting culturally relevant literature in front of students so they see themselves in it, yes, that's important. But if we as Black people are already in those positions, in those buildings, why not advocate for them right in that space? So I'm mumbling over words, but I think for me, it's simple. Like, why are we waiting for somebody else to advocate for our kids? We can do it for ourselves.
And I ask that question because I think, or I've seen many times that we have African Americans or Latinx people, or if I'm just speaking of being inclusive, people of different genders and sex, that find it difficult to fight the machine. And I had a conversation about this on a seminar I did last night. That education at all levels, the P20 pipeline, it is a political machine, and it is a machine of financial resources as well. And so there will be this desire to lean towards a slant of those that have and negate those that either have not or those that you don't believe deserve to have. And so that can be a very uphill battle. Many times you feel beat up. You feel like you're not leveraging your abilities because they're not appreciated. Or many times you find yourself in situations where you're being scrutinized for what you believe and how you behave to support students that are Black, brown, or impoverished. And so I thought it was a pertinent question to ask right now because we've seen now the inequities among Black students and those in poverty as we experience a pandemic. And so I'm going to ask this question to Dr. Drummer. How bad, in your opinion, has this pandemic impacted Black, brown, and low impoverished students? How bad?
I would say it has impacted a lot of our scholars of color and of different socioeconomic classes, actually. And I think that one thing some people just don't understand is this. A lot of us are very blessed and very fortunate. But for some people, for some students, for some place, school is definitely a safe haven. And I'm sure that everyone on here has seen or heard of something that has taken place on a virtual learning platform that's inappropriate, that's sad, that's downright tragic. And if had the scholars been in school, those things would not have happened. But when we're looking at the loss of learning, how the learning gap that's already in place has probably exponentially increased in some settings, or for some of the students, it's just really unfortunate. And I do know that some school districts, because, and not only because they serve a great deal of Black or brown scholars, but because they understand that they want to lessen the achievement gap, they're making some things mandatory, like summer school this summer, whether it's virtual or in person. Students who are enrolled in their school district must attend summer school. I think that students of color and some households that are lower economic, that have a lower economic status, have been impacted by anything from the amount of food that they receive to the internet connection. Some school districts have provided like the Wi-Fi buses, and they'll drive into the neighborhood and people can pick up, on the Wi-Fi signal within a certain radius, which is great. So people have been innovative to try to help people. But at the end of the day, we know that it's typically people from certain marginalized groups that suffer the most when situations like these arise. So I would say that Black and brown children, and because all Black and brown children are not from lower socioeconomic status, and we know that, but people who are, I think they've been affected greatly during this pandemic.
I just definitely wanted to make sure that we touch on that in this conversation. Like I said, you all are leaders, and you have to have a viewpoint on things like that, especially those that are in the realm of policy. I did a show a few weeks ago about the evolution of technology policy in education since the Clinton administration. And so the fact that we're still dealing with schools who now finally purchase one-to-one devices after 20 years of funding that has been allocated for that purpose solely is ludicrous to me. And the question is, why not? What happened? And where did the money go? And so, I'm very passionate about the funneling of educational funds that have been solicited to Black, brown, and low SES students and have been in some way gambled on ineffective resources and strategies, and sometimes people who haven't cut the mustard or made a difference since they've been in the field. So it is 10:06. I want to ask this last question. I'm going to ask it twice just to give you time to think about your answer, okay? So each of you think about this. So when it's all said and done, and the degree has been garnered, you've been hooded, and 30 years later, when you have retired, what is it that they will say about you in the field of education? Here's the question again. So after this is all over, the degree has been achieved, you've been hooded, the title has been pronounced on you. In 30 years down the road, you have now retired. What will they say about you in the field of education? Who wants to go first?
That's deep. I'll jump in. When that statement, the one single word that jumps out of my mind is legacy. And I hope that in 30 years, after the degrees, once retirement comes, that people will say that Dr. Triplett will be the Dr. Triplett. Dr. Triplett has left an amazing legacy in urban education. So my dissertation topic up there, specifically a legacy in urban education when it comes to social emotional learning and restorative practices for Black and brown boys in urban elementary schools. That's my dissertation topic. So I'm hoping that in 30 years, my work has reached many, and whether I'm in St. Louis or wherever I am in this world, that I'm remembered. My legacy is that I've impacted social emotional learning and restorative practices for our boys.
Thank you, sir. Who's next? I know I threw a monster at you.
You did, but you know how my mind works, Dr. Holmes. When you said that, the degree has been confirmed, you've been hooded, and 30 years later you retired. First thing that popped in my mind was 30 years later, I'm mid-career, honey. Look, you got 20 years tops left with me. But in all seriousness, piggybacking off of Dr. Triplett, definitely a legacy. But I also want people to say that she was a trailblazer. I want to earn this degree to, again, impact change. And prayerfully, I'll be able to do that. And when I walk in the room and I have, a couple more letters behind my name, hopefully my thoughts, visions, my experiences will bear a little more weight. And hopefully whatever initiatives that I'm working on or have created, those things will be more Black and brown facing, and supportive of the types of, and leaning towards more support for the types of support our students need. Because we culturally, there are some things that we need and that our students thrive with that a lot of times just aren't even discussed. So just bringing a little more to the table as far as with the degree, and being a trailblazer as far as what people will say when I have that retirement party.
That retirement party, you threw that in there, right?
Yeah.
I'll be right there. You know it.
Will, yeah.
All right. The Scots, what do you have to say? What will they say about you all individually, or maybe collectively?
My wife told me to go first. All right.
It's a good man.
Since you're asking, look, I don't want them to say anything. I want it to be about what they do. I want them to, I would hope that they would see what the impact I've been able to make in the places that I am called to serve. And it would give them the courage, the foresight, the innovation, the perseverance to go and do more and achieve better and to make this world better. So I guess at the end of the day, I'm not thinking about what they'll say. I want my work to inspire them to do something.
Okay, I wrote mine down. So I don't know if I'll be as to the point as he was, but I don't know. This question really spoke to my soul. All I could think of is like I could just see. I'm very visual. I could just see a bridge, like voice empowerment, and I think my main thing is I'm definitely a visionary, and so I think that my contribution would be to facilitate change and to facilitate like ongoing empowerment, you know? So what I was looking at is I would want to give something that could be used past my lifetime. And so what I would want to give would be that culturally relevant, holistic curriculum and education that really connects, you know, the home to church, to education, to school, you know what I mean? And how people can work together as a community to empower our students socially and emotionally, as well as academically. So mine would be more so like, how can I create this content and how can I facilitate experiences that people can continue? Kind of like I'm like a math teacher, so I guess it's more like exponential, like me times you doing the work, and then you go share it with somebody else, and it just spreads everywhere for generations and generations. So that would be my impact. I would want to show people the possibilities of working together to really do the work to empower our kids, give them a voice, connect them from our history to our current situation, and for them to be the bridge for what's to come. Like I want them to be empowered to continue the race forward, and to be aware of where we come from and honor those sacrifices by taking charge of, you know, the work that still needs to be done. Because I know it'll be more work that needs to be done once I'm dead and gone.
So, as I listen to each of you share, and I look at you all collectively, you all are walking in different spaces. You will make a difference in many different ways in many areas. And this is what I think they will say. And this is for all of you collectively. They could have, they should have, and they did. And so now we do. You could have, because many have choices. You should have, and you made the sacrifice, and you did. And because you chose to do it, those that you impacted now can do what they were called to do. And so thank you all so much for what you're doing in education. Thank you so much for what you are going to do. We appreciate you. We love you. And we honor you today, not just because it's Black History Month and it's almost coming to an end, but I honor you all forever. And I appreciate you because I know how passionate that you are about what you all do individually. And so with that being said, it is 10:14. Teacher Talk. Teacher Talks is officially over. Thank you guys for watching. If you're on YouTube, I'm going to go back and watch. I know how many subscribers I started with when this show started. If I don't see that number increase by 1, it's going to be a problem. Sunday's coming up. I got 2 days of, okay? I got some time before I repent. So you better subscribe right now. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, it's a pleasure to come to you to bring you love, laughter, and bring you learning. Thanks again to all of my guests for being here tonight and for sharing with you all their love, their heart, and their passion for education. Until next Thursday at 9 o'clock, I will be back with another wonderful show. You better be here. You better be here. Until then, as I always say, thank you. I love you. Be safe and be blessed. Have a great night. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me.